I wanted to first of all just to say thank you for having this meeting with us, with myself, Laura, and the rest of my team. We came across your website and obviously your brand that you have, and what we wanted to do was to reach out to yourself just to get to know a bit more about the company's background, how it is that it came about, but most importantly as well, just to get a bit more information about your background and what your idea was when you created the brand.
My name is Johan Graffner, and I've been a kind of entrepreneur since my youth. As I started with skateboard import business when I was 15, and then that developed into other types of business. And then in 1996, I was studying in London, European Business School, and I started a fashion label with a friend who just graduated from Central St. Martin's Master of Menswear Design. So that was kind of elevated street brand. That term didn't exist then. It's kind of, we call it luxury street. And
do you mind me asking the name of that brand that you collaborated on?
Yeah, it was called Yukon. So we sold to the good stores in London and a bit in Japan and Scandinavia, etc.
How long did you live in London for?
4 years. And then I moved back to Stockholm and continued with my fashion business. And I had a fashion accessory company, 96. I still have it. But now we do watches and sunglasses. But then it was all kinds of accessories. But then I did a shoe brand that was very successful in Europe. So I was doing a lot of production trips for my businesses, different fashion brands and accessory products and so on, sourcing from all over the world and mostly selling in Europe and sometimes Asia and the US. But during all these trips to various production hubs in China, Pakistan, India, and other places, I saw the massive destruction caused by the fashion industry firsthand. All these dead rivers, and it's kind of devastating for a nature lover like myself. So after a while, it was a matter of even leaving the business or doing something good within the business. And in 2006, we started a t-shirt retail concept called T-shirt Store, with organic t-shirts and curated print designs from talented people from all over the world, just like we do now with Dedicated. So that was kind of the business model. But now, since 2012, we switched, because then we had a franchise model to expand, because it's very capital intense to open stores in large cities. I appreciate the question, because this is something I observed for, because we're selling SS21 collection now, and with that collection is 15 years that we work exclusively with GOTS cotton, and the past 8 years exclusively with fair trade and GOTS cotton. So we've been following this development for a long time. And when we started, there was actually very, very little demand for organic cotton fashion and fair trade and so on. A lot of buyers we talked to, they said that all cotton is organic. So the fact that it takes 1 kilo of chemicals to produce 1 kilo of conventional or BCI cotton, for that matter, because it's the same thing with a different name,
well, I didn't know it was as much as that.
To say the least.
Crazy, the amount of chemicals.
It's very crazy.
Yeah, that's nuts.
So it's very typical that a harvest gets sprayed with pesticides 7 times. The same harvest. Wow. It's not just sprayed once, it's sprayed at least 7 times, sometimes way more. Also, we can see that the Protestant and Germanic countries are way ahead. And I think the epicenter for eco-fashion or responsible fashion in Europe is Benelux, Germany, Austria, Switzerland.
Interesting.
It's definitely in a class.
It's surprising because those of its own. Because those are not the major capitals in terms of the fashion industry. You would look at Italy, Paris, and here in London. So you'd think that these countries would be more forward when it comes to looking at sustainability.
Yeah, the UK is a good role model when it comes to human rights, but not when it comes to like the environmental aspect of the production. And now Paris went out last year saying that they're the home of good fashion, meaning that it's responsible fashion as well. But what they really try to make it mean is locally produced, because they want to promote made in France. But we're hoping France will be the next market. We have a strong growth in France and more eco stores opening and so on. So they are very conscious. And Spain has good brands, but not so many eco fashion retailers. Scandinavia is quite brainwashed by H&M. So in Sweden, people think that H&M are part of the solution, except that they're, I see them as a good example in the very, very worst part of the market. But what they do does not live up to their communication. Like their greenwashing is massive, and they're one of the forces behind BCI cotton to start with.
Greenwashing is a great expression. I'm writing that down. I like that.
Yeah, like what we were doing when we had this retail concept that was all eco and so on. We couldn't communicate the responsibility and sustainability part of our offering, because it's hard to communicate two things at the same time. So we chose to communicate the designs and creative part of our business, but that's just one of two brand pillars. Now that people are more aware and have seen documentaries like The True Cost and A River Blue and etc., many other good programs. So now people are aware, and they want to talk about these questions. They didn't want to talk about before, so that's a major shift. And that tipping point in Europe came 2017. Something definitely happened there in the eco fashion market. Our main fiber is cotton, and cotton takes a lot of resources to grow, a lot of water, but we source our cotton from Gujarat, which is in northern India, and from two different cooperatives that are tied to GOTS and Fairtrade. So one is Chetna Organic with 15,000 families, like family farmers tied to this cooperative, and another one is Suminter, which I believe had 10,000 roughly families tied to it. And so there we've seen that they get their guaranteed price for the harvest, and the fair trade kickback and so on. So it's good to see that working. Wow. But there are 5 million farming families, like cotton farmer families in Gujarat. But the advantage there is that they have the monsoon, so it's rain fed, so they don't have to pump out groundwater or irrigate rivers or anything like that, which is a huge thing in terms of sustainability. The synthetic fibers that we use, we only use them when it's needed for the garment's performance, such as swimwear or outerwear and things like that. We would never do like polyester blouse or anything like that, even though it's a recycled polyester blouse. It's still plastic. And when you wash it, it sheds microplastics and so on. So it should be avoided. But for some garments, polyester and nylon is preferred. And we only use it there and then. Other fibers that we look at are mostly natural fibers, but there will be a very strong development in lyocells. Lyocells are the fastest growing fibers of all. They like Tencel alone grew 158% last year. So now it's possible to make lyocells with up to 40% post-consumer cotton, which makes it more circular. So that's something we want to invest in. We don't have access to it yet, but I think we can start using it next year, because of course circularity will be the holy grail, and it's just a buzzword at the moment. It doesn't exist, but through these lyocells, where you can use old denim and old t-shirts, and then you will save 40% of the trees being cut down to make lyocells. Our main production partner is a company called Armstrong Knitting Mills that was established in 1969, and they're located in Tamil Nadu, which is the southern state in India. They are very inspirational to us because they share kind of the same purpose of workers' rights, and they only try to work with GOTS and fair trade. And now the manager, Mr. Prasad, 1 year ago, he said to the owners that he wants to close the factory, shut it down at 6 o'clock every evening, and never do any extra shifts or overtime. And he said that I'm sure that I can make it work by good planning and motivating the staff. And if I fail, don't worry, I'm happy if you fire me. But he'd been working there for 20 years. But so he did that. Like, he took it upon himself, and so now no one is allowed to work after 6, so he cannot be any overtime. And of course, GOTS and fair trade do their audits, both announced and unannounced, and they have access to bookkeeping. They have access to working schedules, and like see who's been working when, and has the salary been paid out, and if there are overtime, have they received overtime pay, etc. The fashion and clothing sector is expanding so much globally, also because that the middle class is growing so much in Asia and Africa and around the world, Latin America and so on. So their consumption will go up a lot. So although some brands are adopting better production practices, the old bad production is still there. So we added some good production, but as a whole, like the net game, it's you know, the footprint is increasing of the sector. So, and it's could be a disadvantage if brands like Dedicated and Patagonia and Armed Angels and all these purpose-driven brands that really want to do good, but you can't really consume more to achieve a lower footprint. So we need to legislate, firstly on a EU level, to ban a certain type of production. If it should be allowed to be bought in the EU in regular official channels like stores and e-shops and so on, then it has to be responsibly produced. Everyone's ready for like a responsible and green shift in the business, but the big players are, you know, the fast fashion companies. And if you look at Levi's also and Tommy Hilfiger, name a brand, they all use this poison cotton, which they call Better Cotton Initiative, BCI. And it's conventional cotton with a nicer name, but it's still 1 kilo of chemicals per 1 kilo of cotton. And if you look at the carbon footprint, I mean, our GOTS cotton is 46% less than their BCI cotton. But people still think BCI is better than GOTS because it says better cotton. And trusted brands like Levi's and H&M use it. But it was founded by H&M and probably Monsanto and so on. So it's their scheme. And at the moment, it's 59% of all cotton production in the world. And I think the real organic cotton that we use for 15 years is only 1 or 2%. So it needs to be communicated. Bring the light on BCI. Fashion is so tied to image and personal respect, personal expression, and values, and so on. So the industry has gotten away with a lot of dirt in the past. Forced labor, extremely polluting. You can see the dead rivers and the kids swimming in those rivers, and they're doomed. just because of this the West's appetite for cheap fashion. But we need, like Livia Firth was saying, we need grown-ups to step into the room and set some rules, because the consumers won't take the full responsibility for this green shift, and the industry protecting their margins and so on will not either. So we need rules, and it needs to be like government's regulations. We want to use the brand kind of like a vehicle or platform to accelerate sustainable development, but we're beyond kind of spreading awareness and things now, because people are fairly aware. So it's about action from now on. So we want to be action-driven brand, and I think we're supposed to be climate neutral this year, but things became very uncertain with the lockdowns and everything. So we'll see if we can afford it this year, but if not this year, definitely next year. But we push for everything. So at the moment, 70% of our production is running on renewable energy, and we want to get that to 100. But anything that we cannot reduce, the main thing is reduce footprint to the max first, and the residual footprint that we cannot reduce will compensate. But the main thing is to reduce. So we'll start this program that we call Let's Grow a Forest Together, where we can engage customers and stakeholders in planting trees, and it will more than cover for all our activities, the staff and travels and transports and everything.
Oh, that sounds good.
That's coming. And in these 15 years that we have exclusively used GOTS certified organic cotton, we have saved or prevented 126 tons of chemicals from being spread out, polluting the planet.
Wow.
So that's also something tangible that we are proud of, and that will increase now, because I guess the more responsibly produced clothing that we sell, the less some other less responsible competitor will sell. So that's kind of how we see it. That's how we can have additional value. Although dedicated, we're still small after 15 years of business, but we have good momentum both on wholesale and our own online channels and so on. And since we are a purpose-driven kind of spearheading eco-fashion brand, we have to push the agenda all the time and push for all these legislations and write articles and kind of demonstrate and bring better alternatives forward, like these more circular lyocells that I mentioned, and other fibers, kind of low impact fibers. And we also make that available to other brands. We help a lot of brands with production because we have such good contacts and go to India so much. So a lot of big like players like sneakers and stuff, they have a store in London also. So we help them with their own production. So it's GOTS and Fairtrade certified. And
that's amazing.
Many other brands, like we have a skateboarding background, so a lot of skateboard brands come to us and ask for help, and then we make sure they get the right production setup, like, you know, in smaller volumes.
That's amazing. That taking the responsibility to help other people as well is
because we have the network, and it's not worth anything unless it's used. So when we see a synergy, we want to put it to use, and everyone benefits, like, from the planet. I'm very happy
and it's been absolutely
for the help communicating, dedicated and so on.
Thank you for having, you know, you've been so informative, so thank you so much.
Great. And if anything, if I can be of any help in the future and so on, I'm very happy to answer anything or give my point of view on
thank you so
anything
much.
else you're writing on.
Definitely keep in touch.
And enjoy the summer house. I'm very jealous.
Yeah. I hope you get some good vacation also.
Yeah, thank you.
If we're allowed out now.
I think we can stay in places. Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
Brilliant. Thank you.
All
Thanks
right.
very much.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Thanks. Bye.